The Jesus Trilogy, Book 2, Then There Were Two, Chapter 30, Part A. Halt! Who goes there? He could barely get the words out of his mouth after he felt the chill of cold steel against the nape of his neck. It's me. Me who? The pressure of the sharp steel blade increased on his neck. He didn't dare to look and see who it was accosting him. Who would like to know? He said, attempting to use a little sarcasm in his voice to cover up his fear. But the pressure on his neck was only increased. Okay, I'm Jesus the carpenter here in town. What you doing out in the streets this late? I met someone at the shekel for supper and we got to talking. Who'd you meet? If you put down that sword, I'll tell you. Jesus was getting irritated as well as scared. However, he was still in no position to argue. Just answer the question. What's your name? Jesus. Just answer it. Look, whoever you are, I'll be happy to tell you. Just tell me who you are. I don't make a habit of giving out personal information to strangers. If it's money you want, take these few pence. He reached in his pocket to retrieve the 7 pence he had received in change after paying for supper. Hold on. Get your hands in the air now. Jesus dutifully obeyed, easing his hands in the air. Sergeant? I think he's harmless, Corporal, but to be sure, put the cuffs on until we finish. What for? I've done nothing. What's the charge? The corporal snapped on the cuff tightly, drawing blood on both Jesus' wrists. You can turn around, sir. The sir caught Jesus by surprise. He turned and saw 3 plainclothes-type soldiers. The sergeant was a huge man, 6'5" and all of 300 pounds, Jesus guessed. The other 2 were about Jesus' size. My corporal asked you a question, sir, and he still hasn't gotten an answer. The sergeant leered down close to Jesus' face and said, Now who were you having supper with? The sergeant's breath was awful, smelled of garlic or onion, or both. I had dinner with a friend this evening. Did he have a name? The sergeant now used his own sarcasm. Jesus wondered how they knew it was he. Finally he said, Barabbas. How'd you come to know this Barabbas? He's a friend of mine. Went to high school with him. What did you 2 talk about? We just talked. I talk. I don't know. No, I don't know. Is he your friend, your boyfriend, your lover? Snickers came from the other 2 soldiers. Jesus, realizing the implication, held up his cuffed hands and showed the sergeant his wedding ring. I'm happily married, sir. Could you please tell me what this is all about? I could speed up this process. The sergeant ignored him. I asked you what you talked about. Okay. Jesus was still in a very disadvantageous position. Then he saw it. On one of the corporal's arms was a black armband with an SL embroidered in gold on it. Secret Legion, he thought. What could they possibly want with me? He thought. He knew of their ruthless reputation. My friend Barabbas recently lost his father and is having a really difficult time coping. He just wanted to talk. Did you talk about anything else? The sergeant looked at one of the corporals, the one with the black armband. He nodded. He came over and bade Jesus to sit on the bench. Jesus looked him in the eye. The man was obviously the real power in this little trio. We have reason to believe that this friend of yours, this Barabbas, may have ties to organized crime, or possibly is connected with subversive activities against the Roman state. I can't believe that. Have you proof? The steely-eyed gentleman looked down, then back at Jesus. No, but we are suspicious. Did you know his father? Yes, not well, but I knew him. Well, let me enlighten you. Jesus didn't have any clue as to why they selected him out to gain all this information. But he had no recourse other than to listen. You may have noticed that Abel's funeral drew a fairly large audience. Yes? Well, there's a reason for that. We have reason to believe that he was part of a secret organization bent on bringing down or at least disrupting the Roman government by any means possible. I can't believe that. Ignoring the comment, the officer went on. We think that funeral crowd was large, not with our people alone, but also with Hebrew sympathizers. Jesus had a hard time concealing his look of astonishment. Maybe that was who had taken a shot at Pilate. Couldn't be. His friend Barabbas? No. They were best buddies. Football heroes? No. Have you heard of 9 Flags or Score Wolf or Priest X? The seedy eyes bored into Jesus as if the man was staring right through his brain to the back of his skull. The officer did not get the response he had hoped for. No, Jesus calmly said. Sergeant, better take him downtown for more questioning. Yes, sir. The sergeant grabbed Jesus' arm and pulled him to his feet. But, sir, I've got to get home. I've got work to do. It shouldn't take long. The 2 soldiers each held one of Jesus' arms, and the company of 4 began to walk the 4 blocks down the cobblestone street to the Roman police station. The night was dark, and the new moon was high in the sky. The dog star was bright in the heavens, and near it was the planet Jupiter. Neither added any appreciable light to the little band. The street lamp was also of little help. About halfway to the station, Jesus' foot caught in a hollow where one of the cobblestones was missing, and he tripped. He pitched forward. Both of his escorts lost their grip, and with his hands shackled behind him, he fell face first. Jesus' head hit the pavement with a resounding thud. As he hit, he tried to yell, but nothing came out. He was momentarily dazed. He then noticed blood coming from his nose. He wasn't sure if he had lost consciousness for a second or two, but he quickly became lucid again and felt the 2 corporals holding him down. He tried to raise his head, but the corporal pushed it back to the ground. Fortunately, Jesus got his head turned so he didn't re-hit his nose. But in the dark night, all of them could see blood dripping from his nose onto the cobblestone street. Get him up. Can't you see he's bleeding? The sergeant yelled. But, sir, he tried to get away. That's an order, Corporal. He's bleeding. Can't you see that? They helped Jesus up and set him on a nearby bench. The blood was running down his chin and dripping all over his clothes. The officer grabbed a handkerchief from his pocket and squeezed Jesus' nostrils together while lifting his head backward. Take the cuffs off, the sergeant barked. But, sir, he'll run. You idiot, he's bleeding. The corporal reluctantly took the cuffs off, and Jesus gratefully took the handkerchief from the officer and held it tighter. He was getting dizzy, but his head was clearing. Can you walk? The sergeant asked. I don't know. I'll give it a try. Jesus stood up, but the night sky started to spin. He began to list to the left. The 2 corporals reached over to steady him. Jesus shook his head. The vertigo eased a bit. Sir, can we get this over with? I really need to get home. I have a full day of work tomorrow. If you come down to the station and cooperate, I'll see what I can do. I won't make any promises. Citizens friendly to known criminals often are jailed. Barabbas is no criminal. Let's go, Corporal. Thankfully, the bleeding was subsiding. Jesus was still wobbly, and the 3 soldiers made their way the remaining 2 blocks to the station. There was a guard on duty at the gate, and a uniformed officer seated at the main desk in the lobby of the station house. No other personnel were present. The jail consisted of 6 cells. It was directly behind the station house and staffed by 1 jailer. There was a dark corridor leading back to the jail. It was the only entrance. As the 4 entered the room, the staff sergeant did not immediately look up.